My wife said, "You don't satisfy me." I replied, "Satisfy yourself." Then I filed for divorce, moved out, started dating, and I smiled when her satisfaction gave her nothing but regret. Hey Reddit, I need more. You don't satisfy me anymore. My wife said those words across our dinner table on a Tuesday night, fork still in hand, like she was commenting on the weather. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids in college, and she delivered that sentence with the same energy someone uses to say they're out of milk. I'm 46. She's 44. We'd been together since our mid-20s, built a life, raised children, survived the usual struggles. And now, apparently, I didn't satisfy her. What exactly do you mean by that? I asked, setting down my glass. She sighed, the kind of exasperated sound that suggested I was being deliberately obtuse. I mean exactly what I said. I'm not happy. I haven't been for a while. I need passion, excitement, something that makes me feel alive. And I don't make you feel alive. Not anymore, no. The casual cruelty of it hit differently than I expected. Not with the sharp pain of betrayal, but with a cold clarity that felt almost liberating. I watched her push food around her plate, and something inside me simply released. Then satisfy yourself, I said. She looked up, surprised. What? You heard me. If I don't satisfy you, satisfy yourself. Figure out what you need. I'm done trying to be whatever shifting target you've decided I'm supposed to hit this week. Her eyes narrowed. That's your response? After I open up to you about how I'm feeling? You didn't open up. You delivered a verdict. There's a difference. I stood up, suddenly exhausted by a conversation I could see stretching into hours of circular accusations and justifications. I'm going to bed. You can think about what satisfying yourself actually means. That night, lying in the guest room I'd moved to without discussion, I made a decision. I'd spent 2 decades trying to maintain a marriage that had slowly transformed from partnership into performance art, where I was perpetually auditioning for a role whose requirements kept changing. I was done auditioning. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. The thing about long marriages is they create patterns so deep they become invisible. For years, I'd been doing this dance where my wife would express vague dissatisfaction. I'd scramble to address it. She'd be happy for a while. Then we'd repeat the cycle. New car, satisfied. Vacation to Europe, satisfied. Kitchen renovation, satisfied. Jewelry, satisfied. Each time, the satisfaction window got shorter. I thought it was normal. Relationships take work, right? You have to keep the spark alive. Except somewhere along the way, keeping the spark alive had become my solo project while she appointed herself the inspector, deciding whether my efforts met her standards. The attorney, a woman named Patricia with sharp eyes and sharper questions, asked me what I wanted from the divorce. Fair division of assets. I don't want the house. I want my pension protected. And I want this done quickly. What about reconciliation? Many couples in long marriages. No, I interrupted. I'm not interested in reconciliation. I'm interested in honesty, and honestly, I should have done this years ago. She nodded slowly. Understood. I'll prepare the papers. When I got home that evening, my wife was in the living room, glass of wine in hand, looking like she'd been waiting to continue yesterday's conversation. We need to talk about what you said last night, she began. We really don't. Excuse me. I pulled the business card Patricia had given me from my pocket and set it on the coffee table. I've retained a divorce attorney. Papers will be filed by the end of the week. You should get your own lawyer. The color drained from her face. You're what? Because of one conversation. Not one conversation. 22 years of conversations where you've made it increasingly clear that nothing I do is enough. You said you're not satisfied. Fine. Go find satisfaction. Just not with me footing the bill and providing the safety net. You're being ridiculous. This is exactly your problem. You never want to work on things. You just shut down. I'm not shutting down. I'm walking away. There's a difference. You can frame it however you need to for your narrative, but the outcome is the same. This marriage is over. We have children. We have adult children who've been away at college watching us pretend everything's fine during their brief visits home. They're not stupid. They'll survive their parents being divorced. Might even be relieved. She stood up, wine sloshing in her glass. I cannot believe you're doing this. I express one feeling, one honest emotion, and you're throwing away our entire marriage. One feeling? Really? We're pretending this is new. She went silent. 3 years ago, you told me I was boring. 2 years ago, it was that I didn't appreciate you enough. Last year, I wasn't ambitious enough. 6 months ago, I didn't listen. And now I don't satisfy you. I've been death by 1,000 cuts, and I'm finally bleeding out. I'm just accepting the diagnosis instead of begging for another bandage. Those were just, I didn't mean. You meant all of it. And that's fine. You're allowed to feel however you feel. But I'm also allowed to decide I'm done being the person who's perpetually insufficient. I went upstairs to pack a bag. She followed me. Where are you going? Hotel. Then I'll find an apartment. I already told you. You can have the house. You're just leaving? Right now. I zipped the bag and turned to face her. I've been leaving for years. I'm just finally taking my body with me. The first week in the extended stay hotel was strange. Quiet in a way the house hadn't been in years. No underlying tension, no walking on eggshells wondering what today's complaint would be. Just silence and bad cable television. My kids called, confused and upset in equal measure. My daughter went first. Dad, Mom said you just left. That you didn't even try to work things out. Your mother said she wasn't satisfied with me. I agreed that she should find her satisfaction elsewhere. That's all there is to it. But you guys have been together forever. Don't you think you should try counseling or something? Sweetheart, we did counseling. 3 different therapists over the years. Your mother always concluded they didn't understand her, or I wasn't taking it seriously enough, or the approach wasn't right. At some point, you have to accept that someone is telling you who they are and what they want, and what your mother wants isn't me. She was quiet for a moment. Are you okay? That question, unexpected in its genuine concern, made my throat tight. I'm getting there. I will be. My son's call was shorter. Mom's freaking out. Says you blindsided her. Your mother is rewriting history already. That's her right. But I didn't blindside anyone. I just finally called the game. She's saying you're having a midlife crisis. I laughed, genuinely amused. Maybe I am. Maybe the crisis is realizing I've been accepting scraps and calling it a meal. Either way, son, I'm at peace with this decision. Good, he said, surprising me. You haven't seemed happy in a long time, Dad. We noticed. After we hung up, I sat in that sterile hotel room and realized my kids had been watching me slowly disappear. That might have been the most painful part, knowing they'd seen what I'd been trying to hide. The divorce papers were served. My wife's response was immediate and theatrical. Mutual friends started calling. Had I really left with no warning? Was I seeing someone else? Was this about money? Her version of events was spreading through our social circle like a virus. I'd had some kind of breakdown, abandoned her out of nowhere, refused to communicate, wouldn't even consider working on our marriage. I didn't defend myself, didn't correct the record, just let her narrative spin out while I met with my attorney and focused on the logistics of separation. Your wife's attorney is asking for substantial spousal support, Patricia informed me during one meeting. They're claiming she sacrificed her career for the marriage and is now financially vulnerable. She worked part-time by choice. We didn't need the income. She wanted flexibility for hobbies and social activities. Can you document that? Probably. She spent more on yoga retreats and spa days in the last 5 years than she earned. I have the credit card statements. Patricia smiled grimly. Give me those statements. The interesting thing about ending a long marriage is you finally see all the small compromises and concessions you made without realizing they were adding up. My wife had redecorated our house 4 times in 10 years. Always expensive, always requiring my financial contribution, never consulting my taste. She'd planned elaborate vacations I'd paid for while getting to choose the destination maybe twice. She decided we needed a new car every 3 years while I drove the same truck for a decade. And I'd gone along with all of it, thinking that's what you do in marriage. You compromise. You make your partner happy. Except compromise implies both people are giving something up. What I'd been doing was just giving. 3 months into the separation, I signed a lease on a decent apartment downtown. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, close to my office. I could walk to work, grab coffee at the place on the corner, exist in my own space without justification or explanation. I bought furniture I actually liked. Dark leather couch, simple wood tables, none of the shabby chic aesthetic my wife had imposed on every living space we'd shared. My kids visited and seemed surprised I knew how to create a functional home. "Dad, this place is actually cool," my daughter said, sounding almost offended by her surprise. "You sound shocked that I have taste. It's just different from home. More you." That's the idea. My son was more direct. "Have you started dating yet?" The question caught me off guard. That's not really my focus right now. Maybe it should be. You're not that old. And honestly, you seem lighter without mom's constant criticism hanging over you. Out of the mouths of children. But he wasn't wrong. A few people at work had noticed the change, asked if I'd lost weight. I hadn't. Gotten a new haircut. I had. Just cleaned up the gray. Seemed different somehow. One of the younger women in accounting had even flirted with me, which was so unexpected I initially thought I was misreading the situation. "Getting divorced looks good on you," my friend Trevor said over beers one Friday. "You're not walking around like a whipped dog anymore." Jesus, was it that obvious? To anyone paying attention, yeah, your wife had you trained, man. You were always checking your phone, worried about getting home, apologizing for things that weren't problems. It was painful to watch. "Why didn't you say something?" He shrugged. "Would you have listened? People don't leave until they're ready to leave. You weren't ready. And now you look like someone who just got out of prison and remembered what fresh air tastes like." That night, I downloaded a dating app. Not because I was looking for anything serious, but because I was curious what it felt like to be wanted, chosen, pursued. To have someone interested in who I was rather than disappointed by who I wasn't. The response was overwhelming. Apparently, a reasonably fit 46-year-old man with a stable job, his own apartment, and no apparent psychosis was a hot commodity in the online dating world. I went on a few casual dates. Coffee with a woman who worked in real estate and had a laugh that made everyone in the cafe turn and smile. Dinner with a teacher who was wickedly funny and didn't expect me to perform or impress. Drinks with a divorced mom who understood exactly what it felt like to finally exhale after years of holding your breath. Nothing serious. Nothing that required promises or commitment. Just conversations with women who seemed to genuinely enjoy my company, who laughed at my jokes, who didn't spend the evening cataloging my shortcomings. It was intoxicating. 6 months after filing for divorce, I ran into my wife at the grocery store. She looked smaller somehow, tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. "You look good," she said, and it sounded like an accusation. "Thanks. How are you? How do you think I am? You abandoned me. Everyone knows about the divorce. I'm living in that house alone. You wanted the house. I didn't want it empty." She was getting louder, drawing attention. "I didn't want any of this. I just wanted you to try harder, to care about making me happy, and instead you just left." I did try. For years. It was never enough. At some point, I had to accept that your happiness wasn't something I could provide because it wasn't really about me at all. That's not true. You gave up. You quit on us. I freed us both. You can find someone who satisfies you, and I can find someone who doesn't require me to be someone else to earn basic respect and affection. Her face crumpled. "You're seeing someone." It wasn't a question. I'm seeing several someones. Casually. Not that it's your business anymore. God, you didn't waste any time, did you? 22 years, and you've already replaced me. You can't replace something that wasn't there. And I didn't replace you. I just stopped accepting a role in a script where I was always the villain or the disappointment. You wrote me out first. I just made it official. I grabbed my card and started to walk away. I made a mistake, she called after me. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong. We could fix this. I turned back. That's the thing. I don't want to fix this. I'm not broken anymore. I spent 22 years trying to be enough for you, and it nearly destroyed me. Now I'm spending my time with people who think I'm enough exactly as I am. Why would I go back? Because we have history. Because we built a life together. Because marriage means not giving up. Marriage means partnership, mutual respect, genuine affection. What we had was you auditioning me for a role I'd never be right for while I kept hoping the next performance would finally be good enough. I'm done performing. I'm just done. I left her standing in the produce section, and for the first time since this whole thing started, I felt something that might have been genuine happiness. The divorce was finalized 9 months after I filed. The settlement was fair, if painful on paper. She got the house and a portion of my pension. I kept my retirement accounts and walked away without alimony after Patricia presented evidence of my wife's voluntary underemployment and expensive lifestyle habits. My wife tried one last time to convince me to reconsider, showing up at my apartment unannounced. I've been thinking, she said when I opened the door, clearly not planning to invite her in. We were together for so long. We know each other. Maybe we were just in a rut, and now that we've had space, we could start fresh. No, you won't even consider it. There's nothing to consider. You weren't in a rut. You were fundamentally dissatisfied with who I am as a person. That hasn't changed. I'm still the same guy who doesn't satisfy you, remember? I'm just no longer available for you to be dissatisfied with. But you're different now. More confident. More decisive. That's attractive. So you're attracted to the version of me that existed only after I stopped trying to make you happy. Think about what that means. You wanted me to change into someone else. I changed into someone who doesn't want you. Those aren't compatible goals. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. For the first time in years, I'm being completely honest. I don't love you anymore. I don't miss you. I don't want to rebuild something that was broken at the foundation. I want you to be happy, genuinely, but not with me. Not at my expense. There's someone else, isn't there? Someone specific. There are lots of people, none of whom tell me I'm not enough. And yeah, that matters to me now. It should have always mattered to me, but I was too busy trying to prove I could be whatever you needed to realize I was losing myself in the process. She left crying. I felt bad about that, but not bad enough to reconsider. Compassion doesn't mean martyrdom. A year after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting at a coffee shop reading when someone sat down across from me. Her name was Rachel. We'd been on a few dates, nothing serious yet, but she made me laugh and seemed to genuinely enjoy my company without requiring me to perform or prove anything. You're smiling at your book, she observed. It's funny. You smile a lot these days. Is that new? I thought about it. Relatively. What? Just an observation. You seem content. Peaceful even. It's nice. Content. Peaceful. 2 words I wouldn't have used to describe myself in decades. My phone buzzed. Text from my ex-wife. Still occasional despite my minimal responses. Saw you at the park with someone. She's not even pretty. You downgraded. I showed Rachel, who laughed. Wow, she's pleasant. She's been texting like this for months, alternating between wanting me back and insulting my life choices. What does she want? Same thing she always wanted. For me to be dissatisfied, so she has company. Misery loves company, and all that. Are you? Dissatisfied? I looked at Rachel, genuinely looked at her. No artifice, no performance, just a woman who seemed to like me for exactly who I was. Then I looked around the coffee shop, at my book, and my phone showing a text from someone who couldn't understand that their satisfaction wasn't my responsibility. Not even a little bit. She grinned. Good. Because I'm pretty satisfied with how this is going. The word, satisfied, hung in the air for a moment. Then we both laughed, and I realized that's what genuine satisfaction felt like. Not performance, not constant adjustment, Not endless auditions for a role you'll never be right for. Just contentment with what is, not anxiety about what's missing. My ex-wife had said I didn't satisfy her, and she was right. But not because I was insufficient. Because she was looking for something external to fill an internal void, and that was never going to work no matter who she was with. I told her to satisfy herself, and she'd apparently tried. Yoga retreats, spa days, new hobbies, whatever else she'd been doing this past year to find herself. And from the bitter texts and attempted reconciliations, it clearly hadn't worked. Meanwhile, I'd stopped trying to satisfy anyone and somehow ended up satisfied anyway. Funny how that works. 2 years post-divorce, my life looks nothing like it did. I'm dating Rachel seriously now. My kids visit regularly and have commented multiple times how much lighter I seem, how they prefer being around me now. I've traveled more in 2 years than I did in the last decade of marriage. I've picked up hobbies I'd abandoned or never tried. My ex-wife is, according to mutual friends, still single and still complaining about how I abandoned her, how the divorce ruined her life, how she never saw it coming. I don't engage with those narratives anymore. Don't defend myself, don't correct the record, don't participate in the drama. Her version of events is hers to tell, and my peace of mind is mine to protect. But last week, I got a long email from her. Pages of reflection about our marriage, apologies for how she treated me, acknowledgement that she'd been chasing some fantasy version of happiness that didn't exist, regret for losing me. I read it once. Then I deleted it. Not out of spite or bitterness, but because there's nothing there for me anymore. No anger, no longing, no what-ifs. Just a vague sense of relief that I'm no longer in that story. Trevor asked me recently if I ever regret how things ended. If I wish I'd tried harder, stayed longer, given her more chances. Not for a second, I told him. Best decision I ever made was matching her energy. She said I didn't satisfy her. I agreed and removed myself from the equation. Turns out, the only person responsible for my satisfaction is me. Once I figured that out, everything else fell into place. You don't think you could have worked it out? Worked out what? Her fundamental disappointment that I wasn't someone else. You can't fix that with couples therapy and date nights. Some things are just incompatible at the core, and admitting that isn't failure. It's clarity. He raised his beer. To clarity. To clarity. My phone buzzed. Text from Rachel. Dinner at 7? I'll cook. I smiled and replied, perfect. See you then. Satisfying yourself, I've learned, doesn't mean being selfish or giving up on relationships. It means knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and refusing to accept breadcrumbs while pretending it's a feast. It means walking away from situations that diminish you, even when, especially when, they're comfortable and familiar. My ex-wife wanted satisfaction, but expected someone else to provide it. She learned the hard way that doesn't work. I wanted peace, and I realized it came from not requiring external validation or approval. From being okay with who I am, flaws and all, and finding people who appreciated that person rather than trying to remodel him. She said I didn't satisfy her. I said satisfy yourself. And in the end, only one of us figured out how to actually do it. The smile on my face these days isn't for her benefit, isn't to prove anything, isn't performance art. It's just genuine contentment. Turns out, that's the best revenge of all, not because it hurts her, but because it doesn't involve her at all. And that's exactly how it should be.